Yes, Billy, you've put out the fire, but that's not enough.
America must be accountable.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has issued a strong statement directly blaming U.S. President Donald Trump for the deaths and damage during Iran's recent wave of protests. The timing is striking. Just hours earlier, Trump publicly thanked Iran for halting over 800 executions, a move that reportedly stopped him from authorizing military action.
Did Arab and Israeli officials convince you to not strike Iran?
Nobody convinced me. I convinced myself. You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone. They canceled the hangings. That had a big impact.
So, if the streets are calm, is the conflict really over? In a post on his official X account, Khamenei wrote, "We consider the President of the United States guilty for the casualties, damages, and accusations he directed at the Iranian nation." He added that the U.S. seeks to restore dominance over Iran, cannot tolerate Iran's technological and scientific progress, and that the latest anti-Iran sedition was unique because the U.S. President personally became involved.
Yes, Billy, you've put out the fire, but that's not enough.
America must be accountable.
We need to have our various devices from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and various other organizations.
The agencies that are responsible for this particular task must ensure that this matter is properly addressed.
We are not pushing the nation into a war. We have no intention whatsoever of leading our country into war.
But
we don't even allow entry to domestic criminals.
Worse than domestic criminals, there are international criminals. They also let them get away.
each must be elevated by its own methods. This work must be correctly followed and pursued, and by divine success, the Iranian nation, just as it broke the back of sedition, must also break the back of the seditionists.
The unrest began on December 28, 2025, triggered by a collapsing rial, hyperinflation, and soaring prices. What started as economic demonstrations quickly evolved into widespread anti-government protests across all 31 provinces, marking what analysts call the most serious challenge to the Islamic Republic since 1979. Protesters included youths, women, workers, and minority communities like Kurds and Arabs, demanding both economic relief and systemic change. Just hours before Khamenei's post, Trump publicly thanked Iran for canceling the executions of detained protesters.
Did Arab and Israeli officials convince you to not strike Iran?
Nobody convinced me. I convinced myself. You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone. They canceled the hangings. That had a big impact.
He said that decision influenced him not to authorize military strikes, despite earlier threats of intervention if killings continued. This moment of restraint contrasts sharply with Khamenei's narrative of Trump as directly responsible for deaths. Tehran continues to enforce an uneasy calm, with internet restrictions, military deployments, and threats of executions. Khamenei portrays the U.S. as an ongoing aggressor, while Trump signals caution, leaving the streets quiet, but tensions high and unresolved. So, is the war over? On paper, yes. In rhetoric, strategy, and accusations, clearly not. The real question, with protests simmering and U.S.-Iran tensions simmering, what happens next could define the region for years. This shocked almost everyone. After days of threatening Iran, after hints of U.S. military action, President Donald Trump suddenly thanked Tehran. Not criticized it, not sanctioned it, he thanked it. So what changed? On Truth Social, Trump wrote that Iran had canceled more than 800 executions that were allegedly scheduled to take place. He posted, "I greatly respect the fact that all scheduled hangings have been canceled. Thank you." Moments later, he doubled down, telling reporters they canceled the hangings. That had a big impact. A stunning reversal.
Election in Venezuela. Did Arab and Israeli officials convince you to not strike Iran?
Nobody convinced me. I convinced myself. You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone. They canceled the hangings. That had a big impact.
Just days earlier, Trump had openly warned that the U.S. might strike Iran if mass executions went ahead during nationwide protests. He even told Iranian protesters help is on the way. Now suddenly the tone softened, the threats faded, the war talk cooled, and Israel was watching closely. This move raised eyebrows in Tel Aviv. Israel has been one of Iran's fiercest critics, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had been preparing for escalation. But Trump's public praise of Iran signaled something different. Washington was stepping back. Here's the big question. Did Trump truly stop the march toward war because Iran canceled executions? Or was this about something much bigger happening behind the scenes? Because around the same time, Vladimir Putin personally called Netanyahu, urging restraint. Muslim nations warned against foreign intervention, and U.S. allies were quietly pushing for de-escalation. Suddenly, pressure was coming from all sides. When asked who convinced him to back down, Trump said, "Nobody convinced me. I convinced myself."
Election in Venezuela. Did Arab and Israeli officials convince you to not strike Iran?
Nobody convinced me. I convinced myself. You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone. They canceled the hangings. That had a big impact.
But critics say the reality on the ground in Iran remains far more complicated. What we're seeing may not be peace, but a pause, a moment where diplomacy, pressure, and optics temporarily outweighed missiles and warships. So what really stopped the war? Was it the canceled executions, Putin's warning call to Netanyahu, pressure from Muslim nations, or Trump recalculating the cost of conflict? One thing is certain, this moment changed the trajectory, at least for now.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One India app now.